Hello everyone.
This is the first class on strength of materials. Course code is 19ME 3DC SOM. Here 19 indicates that the year in which the syllabus is framed, 2019. ME stands for mechanical engineering. 3 stands for your semester, third semester. DC stands for department core subject, and SOM stands for strength of materials. LTP, L stands for lecture hours, there are 2 lecture hours per week. T stands for tutorial, there is 1 tutorial hour, and there are no practicals related to this subject. So P is 0. Internal marks is evaluated for 50, and external examination is conducted for 100 marks, and it will be reduced to 50 to decide your grade. One of the very important prerequisite is statics part, whatever you have studied, that is the foundation for strength of materials. Of course, you need calculus, so mathematics is also fundamental that is required. Coming to unit 1, you have simple stress and strain. Second part is related to compound stresses. 2 questions in the examination, that is SE from this unit, and there will be a choice between them. You have to answer any one question in this chapter. Then coming to second unit, you have shear force and bending moment diagrams. In beams, we can consider transverse forces, moments, distributed loads. You can find out reactions. You can draw the shear forces and bending moments for different cases. That is covered in this unit. One full question on this chapter. There is no choice in this. Unit 3 is on bending and shear stresses in beams. Because of the introduced shear forces and bending moment, bending stresses and shear stresses are induced in the beams. How to analyze those distributions, how to find out the maximum stress, and all that is discussed in this unit. There is one more part of this unit which is called deflection of beams. How beams undergo deflection, how to evaluate the deflections at different points, how to find out the slopes at different points, and all that is discussed in this chapter. You will find 2 questions in the examination. Again, there will be a choice between them. You have to answer any one question in this. Unit 4 is on torsion of shafts. Shafts are circular members. It will be like this, hollow or solid member. They are subjected to torques, twisting moments. When there is a twisting moment, there will be shear stresses and angular deflections. So how to evaluate those deflections or angular deformations and shear stresses, and how to design the shaft based on the rigidity and stiffness, all that is covered in torsion of circular shafts. There will be one question from this unit. There is no choice in this unit. In unit 5, you will be discussing about thick and thin cylinders and columns and struts. In this unit also there will be one full question. There is no choice. So totally there will be 7 questions in the SEE. You have to answer 5 questions for 100 marks. Coming to the textbooks, Beer and Johnson. This is a very good book. You have one more textbook called Mechanics of Materials by K.V. Rao and G.C. Raju. It's a very good book. If you refer to this book, you can cover all variety of problems in terms of worked out problems. And also you will find a lot of exercise problems. One of these book you please try to buy, because this will not only help you to prepare for this course, it will also help you to prepare for the subjects that you deal in the higher semesters, like machine design or theory of elasticity, theory of plasticity, fracture mechanics, and so on. And also it will be required for you to prepare for the competitive exams like GATE or any other equivalent examination. And apart from this, you have Strength of Materials by S.S. Bhavikatti is also a good book. You have Strength of Materials textbook by R.K. Bansal, and you have Strength of Materials by W.A. Nash. You have Mechanics of Materials by R.C. Hibbler. So all these are good books. You can visit library and refer to any of these books. After completion of this course, you will be able to compare and choose appropriate materials for given applications, investigate various structural members subjected to different loading conditions for determination of stresses and strains, evaluate cylindrical shafts subjected to torsional loads, analyze cylindrical pressure vessels under various loadings. These are the course outcomes related to this subject. Mechanics, when I say it is a general term, it could be statics, it could be dynamics, it could be related to theory of elasticity, plasticity, anything. It could be related to fluids and so on. But mechanics, when I relate based on the rigid body concept, then it is called as statics and dynamics. You have studied already the statics. You know how to draw a free body diagram of a beam given the support conditions and given loads. And you can find out what are the reactions in a beam problem or a truss problem. So all those are by assuming the static equilibrium. So that comes under rigid bodies. And rigid bodies, when I say undeformable bodies, the bodies which are assumed to be rigid, they are meant for only transfer of loads. and mechanics of deformable bodies. So here, the rigid body concept is not there. When we want to analyze what is happening inside the material, how the material resists the external load, then we have to study the mechanics under deformable bodies. Example is strength of materials, theory of elasticity, plasticity, failure theories, etc. Now we will take an example. This is actually a simple bench that is used for classrooms. So you can see this portion is a flat plate made up of wood, and there are few more plates. There is one more plate here. In some benches you will see a plate here also, and you can see there are legs here. One, two, three. There will be one more leg here, one here, one here, one here, and one here. There are so many legs. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8 legs are there. But where this bench is in contact with the ground, it is in contact here, 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 and here. Only at 4 places you will find that it is supported. If there are 4 people sitting on this bench, so one here, one here, one here, one here, 4 students are sitting here, and we know the average weight of those students, let us say 60 kg. So there are 4 students, so 4 into 60 kg load is acting on this bench. Though it is actually point load, you can assume that it is distributed on this plate. Using this load, you can find out what is the reaction here. One reaction here, second reaction here, third reaction here, fourth reaction here. I can call it as R1, R2, R3, R4. And while calculating these reactions, I can also account the weight of these parts also. So what is the condition that we use? We use the equilibrium condition. Summation of all the forces in one direction should be 0. Summation of all the forces in the other direction, maybe y direction, is 0. And if you want, you can take moment about certain point to be 0. So all these are equilibrium conditions using which you can find out R1, R2, R3, R4. So when we do this analysis, we assume that these bodies are rigid. Can I use the same statics or rigid body mechanics to find out when this bench is going to fail? Is it possible? I cannot find. So if I want to find the failure of this or load at which the bench breaks, I have to use strength of materials. I can use fundamentals of engineering mechanics only to find out the reactions R1, R2, R3, R4. I can write the free body diagram, but after that I have to apply concepts of strength of materials in order to find out what is happening inside this material and how much safe it is now. If 4 students are sitting, how safe it is? Or can I use the same bench for 8 students? Is it possible? All that I can analyze using strength of material concept. So strength of material is just the extension of rigid body mechanics. When we will understand when we discuss different concepts of strength of material. You should recall the concept that you studied in physics or mechanics. First thing is the definition of force. Newton's first law gives the concept of force, which says that every body continues to be in its state of rest or of uniform motion in a straight line unless it is acted upon by some external force. And SI unit of this force is Newton. Other units are kg force, pounds, etc. And Newton's second law gives the expression for the force. So which says the rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the impressed force, and it takes place in the same direction in which the force acts. That is a statement of Newton's second law, using which you have derived F is equal to m into A. So this quantifies the force. If mass m is in kg and if acceleration is in meter per second square, then force will be in kg meter per second square, which is equal to Newton. So 1 kg per meter square is equal to 1 Newton. That you should remember. And we also know that force is a vector quantity. That means whenever there is force acting on a member, we should also write the direction in which it is acting along with the magnitude. If I take Cartesian coordinate system x, y, z, if force is acting in like this positive x direction, then it is taken as plus fx because it is along the x direction. If it is in the opposite direction like this, it is taken as minus fx. Similarly, along y direction, if it is acting like this, it becomes minus fy. If it is acting along the positive y direction, it is taken as plus fy. Similarly, along z, like this and like this is plus fz, this is minus fz. You have studied about moment also in your fundamentals of mechanics. The rotational effect of a force is moment or tendency of force to cause rotation about a fixed point or axis. There are two types of moment here. One is called bending moment, the second one is called twisting moment. It is also called torque. Mathematically, moment is equal to force into perpendicular distance. Bending moment and torque, how it will be different, that we will have to understand. Let us imagine there is a member like this and it is fixed here, and here I apply a load like this. Will there be any bending moment now? If you look at this definition, force into perpendicular distance. See, force is acting here along the axis of this bar. So what is the perpendicular distance of the axis to this force? It is 0. So movement is not present here. Direct load is acting, but that load is not causing bending moments. Now for the same body, I'll attach a small bar to this member like this. Now I'll transfer the load F here. This is F now. Now this distance is X, let us say. So moment now is F into X. So because of this distance offset, the bar will undergo bending. Along with, now I'll take another example to distinguish between bending moment and twisting moment. This is also a lever fixed at this end, and I will attach another perpendicular member like this. This is the end of that bar, and here it is fixed. Let us say the length of this member is L, and this distance from here to here is R, and I will subject this to a load like this in the vertical direction, F. Now you can clearly distinguish between the bending moment and twisting moment. I will write the coordinate system. This is x-axis now, let us say. This is x-axis and this is y-axis, let us say. Now this L is along x and F is acting along y, and R is a distance along z. So if you look at F and L, length L is perpendicular to F and R is along z direction, that is also perpendicular to F. So if you go by this definition of moment, one of the definition is F into L, force into perpendicular distance. So this distance L will try to bend this bar. So this is actually bending moment. And force into radius, perpendicular distance R, this try to twist the bar. This is called torque. See, if I apply this load F at this point, then there will not be any torque because the R will be 0, so torque becomes 0. Because of this distance R offset, you have twisting also along with bending moment F into L. A long member here will undergo bending, it deflects because of bending moment, and it undergoes angular deflection. It twists, it gets twisted because of the torque. See, it undergoes deflection like this. So how this is possible? This deflection is because of F into L. Even if R is 0, let us say this member is not there, force is acting directly here, then also this deflection will be observed because it is the effect of this perpendicular distance L. But because of this twisting moment, this member which was straight, it undergoes a deflection like this now. So there is the angular deflection here. And this angular deflection is because of F into R. So I'll consider an arbitrary body here. Let us consider this in a 2D space. This is x coordinate and this is y coordinate. If I take a small elemental area here, area dA, at a distance y from this axis, then dA into y is called first moment of area, and second moment of area is dA into y. This is first moment of area into y, so which becomes y square dA. But this is second moment of area only for the small elemental area dA. If I want for the entire geometry, I have to integrate this over the area. This is called moment of inertia I. And using this equation, you had derived the moment of inertia for standard cross sections. For example, if it is a rectangular geometry, if the width is b and depth is d, b d cube by 12. If it is a circular cross section of diameter d, then I will be obtained as pi d to the power 4 by 64. This is for a solid cross section. If it is a hollow cross section of outer diameter d naught and inner diameter di, then I will be pi d naught power 4 minus di power 4 divided by 64. These three simple cross sections you have to remember. We will be using this frequently whenever it is required. I'll just give you an example how this is important for us. Let us say there is a beam like this. Let us say it is of length 1 meter and width 0.05 meter and height 0.1 meter. Now this is a wooden block I have. Now suppose I want to use this for some application. Let us say I want to use it for bench. Bench has a leg here and one more leg here, and this plate can be kept on these two legs in different ways. One way is keeping it like this. There's one more leg here and leg here. And other way is you can keep it like this also. Now, which position do you think will support maximum load? Second. Why? In this position, what is the moment of inertia? See, the cross section is only this much now. Here, cross section is this much. So, orientation of the cross section is different in this and this. Here it is 0.1 and 0.05. Here it is 0.05 and 0.1. So, here 0.1 is the width. Here it is depth is 0.5. Here this is the depth and this is the width. So B dq by 12. So if d is more, I will be more. Moment of inertia when it is more, it means that it increases the capacity, moment bearing capacity of this member. We are using the same amount of material, but by keeping it in different orientation, we are trying to maximize the moment of inertia, so that it has more strength or weight bearing capacity. This way, moment of inertia is important for us. And another thing is how to evaluate the center of gravity CG of a given cross section. For example, if this is the cross section 100 by 80, CG, it will be somewhere here, G, and what will be the distance from here to here? 40. And what will be this distance, horizontal distance from here to here? 50, right? Half of this. If there is a cross section like this, a triangle, let us say. So centroid will be somewhere here, G. And what will be this distance? If the total distance is L, what will be this distance?
2L by 3.
And what will be this distance? L by 3. So if this height is h, what will be this distance? 2h by 3, and this distance is h by 3. If you have T section like this, suppose I want to find out center of gravity, somewhere here it will be there. So how I want to find out this distance, I'll call it as y bar. Y bar is equal to, you have to divide it into two rectangles. So first rectangle is this top rectangle. Second rectangle will be this bottom rectangle. So two rectangles you have to consider separately. Now I'll just take some arbitrary values just to find out the y bar. Let us say this width is 100 and this height is 20 and this height is 50 and this is 20 again. So now we'll find out y bar. 20 into 100 is the area of top rectangle, and that portion will have a centroid here. Distance of that centroid from this reference, I'll take this as reference line. For the reference, this distance will be what? 50 plus 10. So this will be 50 plus 10 plus the second rectangle. Second rectangle is here. The area of that rectangle is 50 into 20 into the distance of the centroid of that rectangle. So this rectangle, if you consider, centroid will be somewhere here and this distance will be 25. So 25 I have to multiply here, whole divided by the total area. Total area is 20 into 100 plus 50 into 20. So if you calculate this, you will get the centroidal distance from this bottom reference line. The same analogy can be used for calculating centroid of I section, C section, L section. So any section, you can calculate the centroidal distance using the same concept. You have already studied it.